first of all, I'm so happy to see so many people after the very techie kickoff. I was a bit worried that everybody would be sitting around coding stuff, but here you are, ready to hear something about strategy. And just to start out with this little guy, that's our open sorcerer, and that comes not from any place random. We actually thought about it. The name Redpill Linpro comes from the movie The Matrix. The red pill and the blue pill, the red pill being the pill of truth. So that's the first part. Linpro is from our Norwegian friends, that's for Linux professional. So Redpill Linpro comes from a pretty, should we say, techie place. Me, myself, I'm from Denmark. I'm a business development director. I've been working 24 years with integrations, so been on the long run with the development of APIs. Been with Redpill for close to 2 years now. My specialty these days is strategy and advisory. I've been doing a lot of coding, so my fingers were bleeding in the end, so I needed to try something else. I'm based out of Aarhus. That's the part that's attached to Germany. And when I'm not doing techie stuff, I have 3 cows that I'm very happy about. All right. So a little more about Redpill. We are 320 tech experts, very many full beards and heavy metal t-shirts. We have open source roots, but also open minds. So we are working with things like Azure and more closed software companies like SAP as well. And we do a bunch of projects all around Scandinavia. All right, so why this? Why is it that it's a good idea to talk about an integration and API strategy? Well, first of all, I think all of you guys know the value of integration and why that is super important. But the guys with the budget and the checkbook, they rarely understand that. So we need to visualize the strategic importance of having good integrations and good APIs in order to make the business move forward. That's why we need an integration strategy. And we need to create a roadmap for a digital success using data and integration. Data is in everything, so we need to be better at that. And then finally, we need to ensure organizational buy-in for an API-led strategy. I have experienced so many irritating colleagues that said, oh, yeah, we could do it like that, but we could also just make these two systems communicate directly. That's easier and faster. So that's the reason we want to do this. And our process looks something like this. We have a fixed way to do these integration strategies, and it's actually not as complex and hard as it may seem. We've done it so many times, and my learning so far is that, well, there might be 40, 50 different accelerators and focus areas that you need to focus on, but it's more or less 50 shades of the same issues. So we have these different steps we need to go through in our process to make sure that we create an integration and API strategy that fits to any given company. All right, so this is how it looks. Pretty basic, pretty simple, but something that is extremely easy to communicate about. This is an example from one of our large Danish customers that is a freight forwarder company. And their vision is to integrate a supply chain to enable IT-driven logistics. That's the heart of their business, really. It's not just moving boxes around, it is making different IT systems talk together, so the track and trace and the ordering and the drop-off and all that shipments work seamlessly across systems. So in order to achieve their business vision, what goals do they need to deliver from an integration point of view in order to move in the right direction? Well, they need to deliver integrations with speed. It can take so much time to do the most simple things, often it seems. They need to modernize what they have already. They were a company with a lot of acquisition companies. They needed to do something else in order to not completely be sanded in old solutions. And finally, they want to drive or have IT-driven customer engagement. So away from the phones, away from the emails, API integrations across companies, across partners, that would really, really help them accelerate their growth. So in order to achieve these goals that would support this vision, the focus area would be onboarding of new EDI partners and APIs. We need to focus on that. But underneath this, it becomes pretty technical. Then they needed integration in an enterprise integration platform. They needed to build that, a lot to do with this one. They needed a digital integration hub. And those of you guys who haven't heard about a digital integration hub, it is in my mind the best architecture out there. It's not a product you buy, it's an architecture you implement. Most of you guys have probably heard about the 3-layer API architecture. MuleSoft have been very good at vocalizing the benefits of that. It's not their idea, but they're very good at it. But in order to make it real and scalable, a digital integration hub architecture is the place to go. And finally, they needed to do something about their organization, how they were working with integrations, the capabilities that they have. So this is just one example. So how do you come from, we need the guys with the money to understand what we do, we need a roadmap, to this? You start out with a key challenge and the strategic questions. And this is actually the most difficult part in the process, because when you know what the challenges are and your strategic questions, when you have that in place, the rest sort of solves itself out. So you have to spend a lot of time figuring out, why is it that we're here? Why is it that we're talking about the strategic value of integrations and the strategy we need to evolve around it? When we have that, we can actually formulate, boil this into a vision, and that takes a long time, because the vision should be something you can talk about, something preferably just one sentence that's maybe a little sexy, something again that the techies will understand, but also the non-techies, something that you could say pervasive integration or integration everywhere. Or, I mean, I'll get back to some better examples on that one. But when you have your vision, that then ties into the goals that you would have. And the goals, then when you shake those, they give you these different focus areas. And when you have that, the one-pager, the strategy house. The strategy house is nothing we invented. I think it's very common among management type of consultancies. But we've been very inspired, because the good thing about a strategy house is that it's relatable to the guys with the checkbooks. They go to the CIO summits and they probably even introduce you guys to a strategy house. So if you sort of talk the same language as the guys who don't understand APIs, you're in a better place. All right. So, at some point you need to make this tangible. You need to make it real, and you may need to make it something that you can actually implement. And that's the focus areas. You may remember the bottom ones in the house. You spend quite a lot of time on describing the focus areas. I'll give you an example just after this one. When you have the focus areas in place, you can actually take this strategy with the focus areas and put it into a roadmap. Because I think all of us have tried or been trialed on a strategy that you have heard, and you've seen a lot of kickoffs, and then you've heard nothing more about it, or they haven't executed on it, and everybody lost interest, and the world happened, and nothing comes out of it. I really like a strategy that is implementable. So put it into a project roadmap. That's a way to actually make this live. So the focus area. This is where the technicians enter the stage. First of all, we need a description. What is this? Why is it that we want to do it? That's over on the goals and values. Again, we need to ensure that the people who are paying for all our efforts actually understand this one. And more than paying, we also need to make sure that these guys are accountable for making this happen. We need a responsible with some stars on the shoulder, so we can say, okay, we need to do this, and it takes a longer time, and we need to develop it. And the guy on top, he's responsible for making it happen. It's such a much more easy way going forward than it is with just a tech team being responsible to drive the change. All right. Then the last discussion. Where are we today, our current maturity, and what is our ambition? This is an older strategy. I should have updated the years, but I think you get the gist of it. The idea is a strategy should be with a focus of no more than 2 years implementation time. If it's a longer strategy, stuff happens, technology involvement, people change. Make it into something that's realistic to achieve in 2 years' time, and then come back. Because you're almost at level 1 or 2 here, because that's why it becomes a focus area. If you're great, you don't focus on it, then everything's okay. So then you need to move to a 3, 4, or 5, depending on your ambitions. And there's always a developer who says, okay, but what does a 3 mean? What does a 4 mean and a 5 mean? We can set aside a session to define that very, very detailed. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling. That depends on how you want to do it. And this is where it starts to make sense from a financial point of view as well, because very often you have a lot of projects already running that will support your strategy. You just need to align your focus areas to the investments that you're already doing. So these, the existing projects initiatives is usually quite a long list, because the reason you are doing a strategy is that you already know that this is important. So you do probably have a lot of initiatives already going. So map your focus areas into this, because now that you are spending the money anyway, spend them in a strategic direction so you help yourself getting better. Unfortunately, there's also some new projects, new initiatives that you need to do in order to achieve the ambition level that you have. All right, so these are the guys that you need funding for and to be put into your project roadmap. So this is sort of the front page of the focus area, and you could dig deeper into this. This one is again from the same strategy as before. They had two applications delivered from old crappy systems with some, they've API washed their old backends, so to say. And it worked okay-ish, it looked good for the customers, but they had so many things that they couldn't do, track and trace across their own transportation management systems. All that stuff was not in place. So these guys wanted to implement a digital integration hub architecture, not a product, in order to disguise the underlying backend systems so they could accelerate their API journey towards the customers. The next slide, and I've hidden that one, that was a screenshot from one of the competitors that had a very good customer-facing API portal where you could just click self-sign up and everything was going. They wanted that as well. So the more details you can put into this, the more sure you are that you are walking in the right direction. Finally, some of you guys have probably seen this Gantt chart. It's a very boring project chart, but again, put it into a project chart where you can see, okay, these are the existing initiatives, these are the new ones, they fit together like this. Go up, get it accepted, get some funding for it, get going. That is the way to become better and more efficient with your strategy implementation. All right, I'm not taking questions, apparently, but I will now just breathe in and take a glass of water, and then I'll give you a few inspirations from other companies, because it is a bit fluffy compared to writing a YAML or whatever you're working with. So, I tried to anonymize the customers, but this is a pharma company with who needed an integration strategy. They wanted to move away from Azure integration suite into MuleSoft, becoming API-led, all that stuff. So their vision was to accelerate change, stay connected, and provide data on demand. That's pretty generic. That doesn't help you become more competitive. Well, actually it does from this point of view, but it's what happens down here that actually makes the changes for you guys. This is just the direction. All right. So these guys needed scalable and flexible integration deliveries, proactive support and monitoring. Very important for these guys. They had many cases where the business, all their customers were calling and saying, your APIs doesn't work, your integrations give us the wrong answers. They needed to come into control of that. And they needed composable data and integration artifacts. Those of you guys who are attending a Gartner conference or two will, more than AI, also hear a lot about composable architecture these days, and that's driving a lot of API initiatives. Finally, they wanted to focus on next generation EDI, and that's about as old-fashioned as it can get, but the truth is EDI is here to stay. It's been there since the 70s, and I think it'll be there in the next 70s as well. So we need to be able to cater for modern EDI as well. Business engagement and integration catalog. All right, we do have a lot of APIs, we do have a lot of technical things that we can publish, but how do we actually take this and take it into the business so they actually start to use it? The truth is that we often forgetting when sitting in IT is that the company is not hiring us just to have fun with IT. They are usually paying us our salaries because they need us to make some business or some changes. So this is a very prudent place to have focus on. Again, organization, and I think 90% of all integration strategies has a very strong focus on organization. And on organization, you should also write change management, because if you are changing platforms, if you are changing architecture, if you are doing changes to the way people work, you need to make sure that they're on board with you. So the organizational part is not to be forgotten. Then we have something about secure integration, system and data deliveries, and standardized integrations, API, and delivery and governance. With a bit of fantasy, you can already see from the last one we saw, from the freight forwarder to the pharma company, there are some common denominators, and that becomes even more so when we look further in. This one was actually quite fun. It's a steel processing company. Their business is to get in iron or steel, bend it, make holes in it, and send it out again. So you can make a lot of money on that, apparently. So, and we were lucky enough to have the right stakeholders. We had the CIO, the CFO, and even the CEO of this company joining, because they knew they had some issues with the data. So everybody was interested. And when we had worked on the vision for a few workshops, the CEO said, could we enhance this from an integration and API strategy to our company's digital strategy? Because at some point he realized how important data and the process around data was for his company. As a good consultant, I said, sure, it'll take a little more time, but obviously we can do that for you. So his vision is scalable digital foundation for efficient execution and data insight. Again, this is a company that makes a living out of punching holes in iron or steel plates. Having those guys to realize how important APIs and integration and all that stuff is super, super important. And again, integration and data hub, whether you like it or not, and if you haven't done it already, please go home and read up on the digital integration hub architecture. It's really, really good. There are companies out there who wants to try to sell it to you as a product. You can go buy it, and it's going to be extremely, extremely expensive. But again, it is mainly an architecture. If you want, contact me. We've done a lot of these, and you can do it on open source. You can do it with Mule. You can do it on Azure, wherever you want. It's really, really a changing architecture in my mind. All right, and I could go on. I think I'll take the last one, because then there'll be questions afterwards. And regarding platform selection, I have another talk tomorrow, and there we'll take the strategies and turn that into, okay, which technology foundation do I then need to implement these APIs, all right? Good. This one, unparalleled efficiency. These are the laziest guys I ever worked with. They said, well, our company's vision is unparalleled efficiency. Why should ours be any different? Okay, that's doable. So we took the longest running workshop and just took that one. It's a very nice strategy work we've had with these guys, and we've been doing it for so long that companies like Novo Nordisk, the biggest pharma company in the world, maybe at least Europe, we've done that with them, and they called us a few months ago and said, okay, we've achieved the strategy. Now please come back and make a new one for us, because we got a lot of challenges still, but they are different. And I think it says something about the amount of money that they have, that they just did everything. But now we are looking into new things. It's something that evolves. You'll never get into the sandstone zone of integrations, but you can really move yourself having a good strategy. With that, I think my time is up. Right? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.